Welcome to the home of Grand Canyon hiking. This is the Grand Canyon-Hiker-Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. Get your rim-to-rim shirts, hoodies, and more at brightangeloutfitters.com, along with tons of free resources to help you plan your adventure. We created Bright Angel Outfitters to help you hike your best hike. Now, here's your host, my hubby, and co-founder of Bright Angel Outfitters, Brian Special.
Well, she's endured surgeries and hardships, has double vision and vertigo, is 74 years old now, but just keeps going and going and going. I'm talking about my good friend, Mary Bannock, the marvelous Miss Mary. She's now up to 192 Grand Canyon hikes, so 200, well, it might just happen this year. I was lucky enough to join her for number 192 on what would be a South Kaibab to Tip-Off to Tonto to Bright Angel adventure, covering more than 14 miles and about 3,200 feet of elevation lost down South Kaibab and 3,000 feet of gain up Bright Angel. Through it all, Miss Mary just keeps on trucking and hopefully inspiring those who wonder if they have what it takes to hike the canyon. It's a lesson in making no excuses and being obsessed with something that keeps you healthy and happy. It's a day with the marvelous Miss Mary on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. All right, it is March 21st. First full day of spring? Is it, or was it yesterday? I don't know. Anyway, it's springtime here in the canyon. Last week, and by the way, we're trying to catch up with Miss Mary here. She got about a 45-minute head start on me. She stayed in Williams last night and then drove up this morning. That's about, an hour from the canyon. And I stayed in Flagstaff, which is about an hour and 20 minutes. And she was going to start about 5:30. Just had the headlamp on for a little bit. Chest light, actually. I got my Ultraspire chest light on there. I prefer those two headlamps. But just a couple of notes this morning that you might be able to relate to your hike if you're hiking in the springtime or in the late fall when the mornings are cold and the days are warm. It's very important to keep in mind that once you get below the rim, temperatures warm up rapidly. So while my car said it was 24 degrees when I parked this morning, I still only wore a lightweight hoodie, and I got a long sleeve base layer on underneath that, and a t-shirt as well. So I got 3 light layers on, and I've got my shorts on, just like I always do, because I know that it's going to warm up quickly, and I'm going to regret having all those heavy layers that I'm now going to have to put in my pack and carry for the rest of the hike. I would rather suffer a little bit in the morning with the cold, and I didn't even suffer. I was plenty warm, honestly, and didn't even think about it. But if you're going to have to suffer a little bit in the morning and you know it's going to be a warm day, like 70s at the bottom, 60s, 70s, something like that, you might want to consider packing as light as possible and leaving some of those base layers behind. I mean, I passed people on the trail just a little while ago who had, the full puffy coats, and I'm sure they had layers on underneath that. They had beanies on, and, right now they're probably getting hot and wishing they didn't have that, and it's the very beginning of the day, and they're gonna have to carry those the rest of the day. So try to pack as light as possible. It pays off as the day goes on, believe me, and you don't want that extra weight. Every gram matters, because your shoulders will eventually start feeling the weight in your pack. So the lighter the load, the better off you are going to be. The other thing, last week we finally got winter here at the canyon. It has been the driest year that I can remember. Not totally unprecedented, but back in January, Coach Arnie and Buffy and I did a rim to rim to rim in mid-January because we knew it was dry and we weren't going to run into snow on the North Rim, or at least not a lot of it. And that's exactly what happened. So that was an anomaly. And now in March, I can see that there's snow up on the North Rim. I'm sure conditions are a lot tougher. It's just funny how winter came so late this year. But the lesson there, I guess, is that we had the snow and cold last week, only 5, 6, 7 days ago, and you have to pack your micro spikes no matter what, because you never know what you're going to run into at the especially at the top, because at the top it can stay cold and iced in pretty much all winter long sometimes, because the tops of the trails don't get much sunshine. So this time didn't need micro spikes at all. I couldn't believe it, because last week it was snowing and I knew it was icy in the days afterwards, but no spikes, none of that was necessary. I was surprised, but always carry your spikes with you, because if you don't have them, I can't tell you the number of times where I've been like, you know what, I don't need my spikes today, and next thing I know, I'm on my back wishing I had my spikes. So always bring them. You never know when you're going to need them. And I just got to Skeleton Point, and it's perfect timing, because I come around the corner and look who I found.
Hi, Brian.
It's Miss Mary.
I knew I was going to find you.
I'm so happy to see you.
I knew I was going to find you. I busted my gut to get here before.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I thought I was going to catch you well before this.
I thought you were too.
So you were moving. So I've got you from Skeleton Point for the rest of the day.
I do. You do.
How are you feeling today?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
A lot of visual issues, but you know.
Yeah.
I have to use those stupid sticks now.
What is the, what's our plan today? What are we doing?
Well, either South Kaibab, or I would not mind just going Tonto up BA.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel.
Let's make that decision when we get to the river. How about that? We know we're going to the
Oh,
river.
well, no, not necessarily.
Oh, you want to just cut across?
If you want to cut across and make it a short day.
Okay.
But I'm
not the full Mary Loop day.
No, I don't have time, and I've got 2 big jobs tomorrow.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Tucson.
So tell me about what's going on with your. I guess tell us what's going on with your with your eyes. I haven't seen you in about 10 or 11 months.
I know. I had a head injury years ago, and I have a condition called abducens nerve palsy, which is basically triple double vision. It's unstable, and my glasses were at 6 diopters base out, if anyone knows what that means.
It means they're messed up.
Yeah, it means I only have a small fusion point, otherwise it splits into 2. And it went from 6 to 20 over a 2-month period. And so the next 3 surgeries are going to be an effort to do a conjunctival transplant graft to give me a little bit more control in the right eye, so I have a little better fusion field, which will bring down the noise in my brain from the double vision. We'll see. Yeah, it's pretty complex.
So we're sitting here at Skeleton Point. The sun's just coming up, and we're looking off to the east right now.
We are.
So what do you? I mean, what do you see when you got these issues? What are you seeing?
I look down. If I look over this way. So when I get to a switchback, I have to go straight into the switchback, plant my pole, and then turn my head completely fast. Otherwise, it'll just go. And it comes with vertigo. It's not just the double vision. It gives me vertigo. So then I get off center and look like I'm a drunk person all the time.
So why do you keep coming back? I mean, that's enough, Mary, that would make a lot of people
no way
never want to do something like this. Why do you keep coming back?
Ain't gonna happen.
Well, why do you keep doing it?
There's a drive in certain of us to attain goals, and you get used to the new normal as far as your abilities, and as you age and have knee issues, which I have also, you just ratchet back your expectations, and that doesn't take away from the experience at all. Did you see the 2 rim to rimmers?
I saw one
with tiny little packs.
Yeah,
this big.
yeah.
I said, "You got rescue clothes? Don't worry about me." Okay.
Oh, Mary will not be shy with all of her experience on the trail. She is not shy about letting people know what she thinks about what they're taking on,
That's right.
or giving them warnings at least. So what number is this?
192.
192.
Yeah.
So we're gonna hang out today. I'm excited to hike with you. It's one of my favorite things to do, honestly, Mare.
Oh my gosh.
I love being with
you.
you.
And I'm stressing because here comes Brian. Boom.
No, this is awesome, because we'll just kind of go at your pace, and it lets me stop and look around, and that's important sometimes, because sometimes I want to go too fast. And this is going to be an awesome day.
It was fast.
Right. It's about ratcheting back expectations, like you just said.
Yeah, and you really, you can't push. You can push, but you're only capable of so much. And I'm not really capable of going much faster than this anymore, because of vision and age and knees. And that's okay.
Darn right. All right, we're sitting here at Skeleton Point. We're about to take on the red and whites. So
Yep.
let's head down those red and whites and get ourselves a tip off and beyond.
They've done some great trail work.
Ready to do this?
Yeah. Ready?
Go. Are you in our Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show Facebook group yet? Well, join today and learn all the tips and tricks and hear about others' experiences on rim to rim and beyond. It's totally free. You'll have daily access to me, Coach Arnie, and just about every guest we've ever had on the show. All there to help you have your best possible Grand Canyon experience. Join the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show Facebook group and be inspired and informed and get yourself Grand Canyon ready. Okay, Mara, so we've made it down to tip-off. It's been fun catching up with you. I always enjoy hiking with you. It's so much fun. So what ultimately have you decided that we are going to do today?
I guess we'll go across to Tonto. But if you really want to go to the river, I'm game.
No, I know that you want to go to. We're going to cross Tonto today and go out on Bright Angel. I haven't been on Bright Angel in probably a year. It's still closed all the way down from Havasupai Gardens to Silver Bridge. We're going to catch it in the sunshine. It'll be a fairly warm day, but it won't be too bad. What have you seen on the trail today? A lot of people who. Yeah, we did see a couple bighorn. That was cool. Right here at tip off, but we've seen a couple of groups of basically young guys, I would say, that I'm not quite sure they know what they're getting themselves into as they dip below tip off here and go all the way to the river.
Yes, because just judging what they had on their backs, they were not even backpacks. So I hope they know where the water source is by Boat Beach, but they definitely were not as prepared as we would have liked to have seen them by far.
What would you like to see? When you see someone out here, you've been out here for 192 hikes now, thousands of miles on the corridor trails. What are the telltale signs of someone who is not prepared?
Well, they don't have the proper clothing. They don't have the proper shoes. You can tell that their pack is only holding maybe a liter of water and not any extra clothing, and I don't see any headlamps. Basically nothing to self-rescue or nothing to do for the long haul without water if they come back up South Kaibab. People that are fit, you can tell pretty much a mile away just by how they walk, how they speak, how they conduct themselves, and basically just look at their pack and their whole persona. You can pretty much tell how they're going to do. And lately I've been running into people that actually don't even know where they're at. Came across that 3 times my last hike. One guy at the bridge, he was an elite trail runner, and I met him at Black Bridge. I said, "Where are you going?" He says, "Well, I'm supposed to meet my wife up in Angel Bright Trail." And I said, "Do you know where that is?" It's called Bright Angel. He had no idea where he was. And that happened 3 more times going up South Kaibab that particular day. And the other thing I saw was a lot of loud music.
Oh.
And I have a chapter in my book called Trash Along the Trails, and it was basically about litter, but now it's about vocal litter, being loud and obnoxious and loud music. It is so terrible. And
that is one of the most, I've got to stop on that for a second because you've hit a nerve with me there, because music, and I'm not even talking about loud music, people playing music on their phones or on speakers. I have had it where I'm going to Bright Angel in 10 o'clock at night, and I'll pass people who are just thumping music on basically boom boxes on those portable speakers. And you know how loud that is when you're going up Bright Angel Trail in the canyon, the walls just amplifying the music, it's bouncing off it. It is the most rude, unself-aware kind of behavior, in my opinion.
Disrespectful to the sacredness of this place.
It's disrespectful to your fellow hikers. It's disrespectful to the canyon. And I mean that on any trail. I just don't think music has a place on trails. If you want to listen on your headphones, yes, that's what headphones are for. I listen to podcasts and music when I'm hiking all the time. It's part of the experience for me. But use headphones, no amplified music, please. Off my soapbox now, as you were saying.
I agree.
Sorry, Mary, I had to go there.
No,
I just had to.
No.
Passion, baby.
Yeah, no. And that's why, in my chapter called Trash Along the Trails, I decided after seeing it 3 times in one day that definitely needed to be on the scope of what is trash along the trails. There are headphones. There's no excuse to play your music so other people have to hear it. You're not being bold and mighty. You're being very obnoxious and very disrespectful to the rest of us. So please turn it off and don't leave trash in the bathrooms either.
Oh man, we see that all the time. I bet we would go into the
Water
bathrooms here
bottles.
at the tip-off and we would find all
Gatorade
kinds
bottles, water bottles.
Yeah, and sometimes even like food, people just offload because they don't want to carry it anymore. They realize they have too much, and so they leave it behind. Well, guess what? Somebody has to carry that out of here.
Somebody does.
So, and that's another one of those unself-aware kind of
And we've also
things.
picked up 2 pieces of trash today so far.
We have a hand warmer that fell out and
Piece
something
of paper
else.
back there.
Piece of paper, yeah. Hasn't been so bad, but there will probably be a little bit more. What other kind of behaviors do you see on the trails that kind of irks you out here?
Completely unaware people slamming down hills with hiking sticks that come into your space as you're trying to go uphill. And I have almost been deadly tripped, probably 5 times in the last year.
So you mean just kind of like a spatial awareness kind of thing?
Yeah,
They don't
right.
realize
Not
they're...
aware that the uphill hiker, it's hard to stop your momentum. And so instead of getting small and, going down, you don't need to necessarily stop, but just kind of ooze in a little bit and get your pole out of my way. And one guy was actually lifting his pole to take a picture, and I almost got it straight in the face with the end of his pole.
Interesting. I actually hadn't thought about that. Spatial awareness when it comes to hiking poles. What else?
Well, not knowing where you're at, which was a stunning revelation for me, because the young people that come here now, they just go online and all trails, but they don't have a knowledge of the actual corridor layout. And so I always say I think everybody should actually study a map of the corridor trails with the elevation changes and the mileages between each spot, so that they know what they're in for. And listen to older people that have advice and have been there, and because Grand Canyon's hard.
You won't hesitate to offer that advice. I've seen that in the times that you and I have hiked together, that if you see something, you will say something. What kind of things will you say to people?
If it's 1 o'clock and they're at tip-off or even Skeleton Point, I'll say, where are you headed? And sometimes they don't know what the heck they're doing. Well, I don't know, just as far as we can go. And then I'll ask them, do you have a headlamp? How many snacks do you have? Are you aware there's no water up South Kaibab the whole way? Things like that. Or if it's in the summer or where the sun is a little bit stronger. I mean, today we're only at an UV of 5. Next week it's going to be 7. But if it's scantily dressed girls in their little tank tops and short shorts, I'll ask them if they have covering, because heat sickness is a real problem. Even if you're slathered in sunscreen, you still get heated with the actual rays of the sun on your skin, regardless of sunscreen. So I ask people if they have a cover up. And what kind of electrolytes do you have, and how much food do you have, and what's the game plan, and are you able to self-rescue if they're on a rim to rim? Just questions all the time.
So you talk about self-rescue. What do you mean when you say self-rescue?
Self-rescue is the ability to get yourself out of the canyon should an emergency arise, other than a sprained ankle or something that's completely unforeseen, where you actually do need help. Usually it's a result of lack of conditioning, not being aware of the heat, not having enough nutrition, the electrolytes, and it's either hypoglycemia, what's the cold?
You're gonna hypothermia,
hyperthermia, hypoglycemia, and hypernatremia.
Hyponatremia,
where is water intoxication. And over the years,
that's from not having enough electrolytes.
Right. And I've kind of observed people in all 4 conditions over the years, and I'm usually right as far as diagnosing and helping them. So I always have extra snacks to give them, to help them to go out, because people, they think they can just get on a helicopter or a mule and just be rescued, but you need to be able to self-rescue. And I usually have a emergency sleeping bag with me. Like today, I have 5 layers on top, and I'm only going to the tip-off and then across, so I don't have like a lot of stuff. But next week, if I do a rim to river, I'll have my emergency sleeping bag. So if I need to spend the night in the canyon, I'm not going to die of the cold before I can get help.
So being aware and able to self-rescue, mostly important when you're out here by yourself, which a lot of people are.
Yeah, and I would say of that realm, it's food and clothing. I don't know how many rim-to-rimmers that I've seen over the last years that were attempting a rim-to-rim, and the north rim is 35 degrees, and they're in short shorts and tank top, and they literally can't go on, so they need to get the shuttle on an emergency basis to go back around. And I've seen that probably 8 times over the last years because they didn't have the clothing they needed to self-rescue or stay warm. In fact, I rescued a guy about 5 years ago doing that exact thing at the North Rim.
That kind of contradicts what I was saying in the very beginning of this episode before I ran into you at Skeleton Point. I was talking about, on a day like this, it's cold in the morning. I know we're going to be out of here in the early afternoon. And so I dressed accordingly because of my experience in the canyon, knowing that, okay, maybe I'll be a little bit cold in the morning. I'll deal with it, but I know it warms up when we get below the rim. And so I did pack very light. So I'm not prepared to self-rescue. But I think what you're saying is a lot of that comes with your canyon experience.
Well, that's true. And if I know I'm with Brian, but if I'm not with, and I'm usually alone, so I always plan worst case scenario. Like next week, it's going to be 20 degrees warmer. You're not going to see me with all these clothes. I'll probably be wearing capri pants with, basically shorts, and maybe 3 layers on top with the emergency sleeping bag and 1 pair of gloves rather than the 2 pair and 5 hats and all that. Because I've been caught in the canyon and I've been in massive trouble when I've been by myself. And if I didn't know I had the capability to self-rescue, you can die at midnight.
So it's experience, and it's also just research and paying attention and making sure that everything is in check with your logistics and paying attention to the forecast, right. And planning for a worst case scenario when it comes to the forecast. So again, experience is really the most important thing when it comes to layers and being able to self-rescue. Because if you hike in the canyon long enough, even no matter how much experience you have, you're going to run into trouble at some point. Things happen, man. It happens to the best of us. It happened to Coach Arnie when we were on our rim to rim just a couple of months ago, and he struggled up South Kaibab here. It's happened to me numerous times, and I fully expect it to happen again. The canyon will get you if you're not careful.
It will. And, I had a bowel obstruction about 6 years ago where I was doing a triple R and everything was going great, and all of a sudden, boom. I
flared up in the middle of a rim to rim.
I was in the box, and all of a sudden I was on the verge of vomiting and I couldn't pass any food. And so I laid down for a couple hours, and my friend went and got the ranger, and somehow I hobbled to Phantom Ranch. And next day I had to be, I was so weak, but they didn't diagnose that until several years later. But that's what it was. And if you don't get out with that particular problem and it doesn't resolve, you'll die. You'll actually die. So those are unforeseen things that are actual rescue worthy things, rather than just like I didn't have enough food or I'm not fit enough. Those are things that are on us personally that I think probably 90% of the problems could be resolved if people would just be self-responsible as far as their conditioning, food, awareness of the weather, shade. Brian's shade tracker, that's where it's at. And heat, knowledge, because I think people don't realize, I see all the time, it's only going to be 100 degrees at the bottom, not knowing that the effects of that heat are absolutely deadly on the body. And there's people that actually died last year after being out of the heat.
Yeah.
They dropped over. There was a lady on Bright Angel that died a couple miles from the top at 8 o'clock at night. And then there was a guy that camped at Bright Angel Campground, and he died on the river. The stretch where the sandy part near the triple bathrooms, I think he just dropped over. So things happen, but we can avoid most of them.
And it's important to note, as you've said, that don't expect if things go haywire, which they potentially can, don't expect that you're going to get a mule ride out. They don't do that anymore. There are no mule rides out of here. And don't expect that you're going to get a helicopter out, because the rangers will assess you, and they know if there is any chance of you making it out, no matter how much you're going to suffer, you are walking yourself out of the canyon. So when they say, and you see those signs that say, down is optional, up is mandatory. They mean it.
Right, and Victor Vomit is the best example of all. Don't be
I
a
love
Victor Vomit.
Don't be a Vic.
Don't be a Vic, yeah.
We're not going to have to worry about that today, but we're going to go across Tonto here. You pick it up from the tip-off, and about 4.5 miles across Tonto, flat to rolling terrain. We'll connect with Havasupai Gardens, and then have a very difficult 4.5 mile hike out from Havasupai Gardens. But at least we don't have to go up South Kaibab today. We don't have to go up the red and whites, which is the hardest part of any canyon hike for me. So I'm thankful for that.
is.
Let's get at it, Mary.
Okay.
And we'll talk some more when we get to Tonto.
Hiking rim to rim this year? Take our free guided tour along with you. Go to brightangeloutfitters.com and download it to your phone, or simply download podcast episode 46 or 47, depending on your route. Brian will give you progress reports, stories, and history at all the major landmarks along the way. It's a great way to further immerse yourself in the experience. Maybe take a break at the same time. The Rim to Rim guided tour is brought to you by Bright Angel Outfitters, always looking for ways to help you hike your best hike.
Okay, so we made it all the way across Tonto, and Mary, I got to tell you,
Tell me.
Tonto is underrated as all get out. I'm not on Tonto often, but I'm on it just enough to know what I'm getting into, but not enough to have it not be super inspiring and joyful when I'm on there. I'm like reminded of just this incredible feeling of being all alone in the middle of the canyon, and the canyon walls are off in the distance, and you've just got views, 360-degree views, and you can see up to the south rim. You can see where the Yavapai Museum is, and
And the box, and Phantom Ranch.
Yes. Yeah, you could see
Stuff
Phantom
that you
and
just
Bright
don't
Angel
notice.
Campground, and the big sheared cliffs, the drop-offs.
The drop-offs, and
What an experience.
The little springs with beautiful, clear running water. I guess you could call it a respite.
Yeah, it is. It's just so much different than the corridor trails, the other corridor trails, because we saw hardly anybody out there. I think we might have passed 2 or 3 couples.
Yeah, about
hikers.
2 or 3 parties, 3 or 4.
Yeah,
maybe.
and the other thing that's just that you notice out there on Tonto, besides the incredible views and the feeling of isolation, if you stop for a second and just be for a second, it's dead silent.
It rings in your ears. It's so silent.
And how many times do we get a chance to hear total silence in the age that we live in? We're just always being bombarded with sights and sounds and electronic and messages and everything coming at us. To stop and just listen and hear nothing.
You really have to go out of your way quite a bit.
You do.
And you have to be intentional about where to do that. And Tonto Trail is it. And bucket list would be to take it from one end to the other. I think it's 70 miles?
Yeah, it's 70
along
or 80
the Tonto
miles.
Plateau. And it's undulating. That's how I get, and it's single track. So it's very narrow, but that even adds to the feature of being, it being yours personally. I feel like it's our area when we're in that area.
Yeah, it's not it's a groomed trail. I don't think they do a lot of maintenance on it, but it's worn enough so that it is, you're never going to lose it. It's narrow. The brush can overgrow on the sides a little bit, but I have shorts on, and I didn't run into any troubles at all today with scratching up my legs or anything. So what a fantastic alternative to, even going down South Kaibab to the river. And that was what we were deciding between us. Do we go to South Kaibab and back up, so we can go down and cross Black Bridge and dip our feet in the Colorado, or do we take the extra 4.5 miles and go across Tonto and out on Bright Angel? So it's a longer hike this way.
It really is, but it's kind of nice. And if we have to take a taxi back, oh well, it's worth it.
Yeah, we will have to take a taxi back to the South Kaibab area to get our vehicles at the end. That's a trade-off. And I told you I didn't bring cash, Mary.
I do. I have $40.
Then we're good to go. I'm gonna owe Mary, dang it.
Yeah, she is.
So we ran into a few people out there. One guy who was backpacking. It's the first time that he'd been in the canyon, and he kind of had that look of just wonder
Well, yeah, it's like,
in his
what?
eyes. He's like, I just came past these vertical drop-offs and my heart's kind of fluttering. And I'm like, dude, you haven't seen anything yet, because he was going all the way to Cottonwood today.
Oh my gosh. He probably had, let's see, I'm going to say he had a good 12 miles to go.
Yeah, that's a big day. And he was going to go
And
spend the
then-
night at Cottonwood. Then I think he was going to try to go to the North Rim and back tomorrow.
Oh, and that's another 14 miles round trip with, I don't know, 7,000 elevation change, give or take.
But there's snow, a lot of snow, and he doesn't know, nor do we know, what the conditions are on the North Rim right now, because it's still not open for the season. So he at least did say that, he wasn't hell-bent on, I'm going no matter what, like some people would get, I have to touch the North Rim. It was like, well, if there's snow, I'll turn back.
Yeah, and it depends on how tired he is, too, hauling all that weight.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. You gotta make smart decisions in the canyon. You can't push it too hard necessarily.
You have to leave extra. You have to leave a little bit of leftover, just in case. And you max out every single day, and people that's how they get in trouble a lot of the time, because, well, I'm going to go from South Rim to Cottonwood one day, and then Cottonwood to the North Rim and back again on the second day, and then the third day I'm going to hike out from Cottonwood to the South Rim. And they sometimes report back and said we aborted mission at the Red Wall Bridge or Supai Tunnel because of snow, and you just have to be flexible.
And you have to do your research. You have to know what you're getting yourself into. You have to be flexible so that, if you have a plan in your mind and you're not feeling it, that you have to be flexible enough to say, okay, I'm not going to go for it. But you also have to have done your research to know as much as you can about what you're getting yourself actually into, because we just had someone that came down here to Havasupai Gardens,
just gonna mention him.
and we're here in March, and Bright Angel is closed from here to the river, which of course normally it wouldn't be, but it's closed for the Waterline project, as we've mentioned. And he came down here and was looking around like, wait, what?
Where am I?
The trail's closed? He was trying to get to the waterfall by Garden Creek, which is just down below Havasupai Gardens a little bit. And he wasn't quite sure where he was, or
he didn't
what
know
to
where
do.
he was. And that to me is one of the biggest issues with first-timers and newcomers, and even people that have been here before. Nobody opens up an actual map and reads an actual map, especially to see the elevation changes and the waypoints between this and this, and what's open and not open. And he didn't know where in the universe he was, actually.
And you see that even as we're sitting here just off the trail near Havasupai Gardens, and there's still groups coming by, and a lot of them are moving fairly quickly. They're still being very eager, and those are the ones that I always worry about, because it's like they've gone downhill now for 4.5 miles to get to Havasupai Gardens, and they're still excited, and they probably haven't considered the fact that they might want to turn around and look behind them where they just came from and where they're going to have to go, right? Because they've still got to go back up. Down is optional, up is mandatory, and the unique nature of canyon hiking means that you can get yourself in trouble. Dr. Tom Myers calls it the grand deception.
Yeah,
is that
it really is.
You come downhill and you feel great, and it's not too tiring, and you get yourself in way too far. You don't have enough water. You don't have the physical fitness to get yourself out of here, and that's when you can run into all kinds of trouble. And there's nobody coming for you.
Too bad.
Yeah.
You better be able to self-rescue.
You better be able to self-rescue.
Lesson.
All right. Well, we need to get ourselves out of here now, Mare.
Oh my gosh.
4.5 miles from here to the South Rim, to the Bright Angel Trailhead. I will always maintain that South Kaibab gets the reputation for being so difficult for the climb out. But I'm telling you, hiking out Bright Angel from here to the top is pretty much just as difficult as it is on South Kaibab.
If not more, because it's so mentally demoralizing.
It is. Don't look up. Don't look up. Don't look up.
And count the switchbacks.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Look, the looking up thing, even when you're within a mile of the top, don't look up, because you still won't believe how high it is.
It's like, I can't. I know. And if you look to see where 3 Mile House is.
Oh, gosh.
And then you think.
It's way up there.
And it's on that wall. Oh, no.
Don't look up. Don't look up.
All
right. Back to work.
Okay.
We'll talk again at the trailhead.
Grand Canyon hiking can be hot and deadly, and shade can save your life. Be sure to plan your hike with our Grand Canyon Shade Tracker, a completely free tool that lets you see exactly where you'll have shade on your route every minute of every day of the year. Find the Grand Canyon Shade Tracker exclusively at brightangeloutfitters.com and hike your best hike.
Oh, Mary, we made it out. Oh my gosh. We did it again for you for the 192nd time. The 192nd Grand Canyon hike where you've gone below the rim and done something. Today it was a South Kaibab to Tonto to Bright Angel extravaganza. Now we're sitting back here on Highway 64, getting ready to head back home. You to Tucson and me to Phoenix. Hearing the traffic go by. Not going to let that spoil our mood. It was a great day.
This was a golden day for me. This was like a liquid gold day for me because I got to hike with a man.
Oh boy, here we
who
go.
Not only knows how to make you feel important, but he puts you at ease every second of every minute that you're with him. He doesn't make it about himself, and he just made me feel important and just wonderful the entire day. And we just had a blast, and we were laughing and talking about, well, there is a classic case of this or that.
That's for sure.
Because people were not really prepared, and there was a group of young kids going down from the tip-off, and they had these string packs on. Did you see them?
Yeah.
The string packs. And their father was sitting in the shelter, and he said, "Yeah, my son's on the way down to the." Oh, those are your kids.
Yeah.
And we just
maybe didn't know what they were getting themselves into.
No, and I don't even know. And it was obvious that most of the people that we actually engaged with did not know where in the scope of the universe they were actually at.
No, and definitely didn't know that there was trail closures.
No.
And really anything that was going on, which is amazing to me that people just don't do any research.
Right.
Basic research.
Or
look at the signs at the top.
Oh my gosh. I know. Victor Vomit. Pay attention.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
How about the signs that say the trail's closed down, below Havasupai Gardens? So people didn't even realize that.
No, we ran into a guy at Havasupai Gardens that had no idea about this big. It was you had to go very far out of your way to get back to the Tonto. I would say it was pretty close to a mile.
That was a crazy detour.
That was a crazy detour. Yep. But we did get to see close up this giant pipe that they're laying. I mean, feet and feet and feet. It's round black, and we wonder if they're going to bury it or what it's going to do.
Yeah, the new water pipeline.
But it is stunning how
running
much...
right along the Plateau Point Trail.
Oh gosh, yeah, and the Plateau Point Trail is like a super highway. It was a single track footpath.
Yes.
And now it's wide enough probably for two vehicles.
It is.
And all these giant earth movers. So whatever those guys are doing is just stunningly intricate, and big, huge, heavy equipment seen below the rim is really neat.
Yeah, you've always been able to see from the rim. I mean, one thing that stands out from the South Rim is being able to see the Plateau Point Trail, 3,000 feet below. But now it's an expressway, essentially. I mean, it's the Grand Canyon Highway down there.
It is amazing.
I mean, it could be a landing strip, honestly, the way that it's laid out right now. So definitely some damage has been done by this waterline project, but again, a necessary evil. I thought it was interesting on the way out as we got closer to the top. This is March. We had snow last week. There was nothing down South Kaibab. South Kaibab was dry, which I was very surprised, especially at the chimney, that it was dry. Bright Angel, though, as we got closer to the top, especially inside a mile, became very icy, very slushy, very snowy, which I was very surprised at. This was, mid-afternoon, so there is no question that this time of the year you would need traction devices on your shoes if you're going down.
Absolutely, yeah. We were okay because we were going uphill, and if you put your foot just right, got the right angle, and found a little rock or a pebble, you could balance pretty easily. But there were people coming down skidding on purpose, and there was drop-offs all over the trail. And if they would have happened to gone over and they couldn't have stopped themselves, they would have been hurt bad or even possibly killed.
I mean, I saw people coming down. And listen, you always see the tourists coming down Bright Angel a little ways, and they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're getting themselves into. You start smelling the cologne, when you get close to the top, and smelling the perfume, and seeing people in their sneakers. I saw a guy in Vans. I saw a bunch of people, a whole train of 7 or 8 people clinging to the side of the wall because they were so afraid of slipping on the ice. And I'm just like, man, listen, here's what I'm going to say about Bright Angel. If anybody listens to this and they're coming to Bright Angel, they're coming to the Grand Canyon, and they have a day to do a little hike in the Grand Canyon, and you think, well, I'm in Grand Canyon Village, so I'm going to go down Bright Angel Trail a little bit. Listen, the best views on Bright Angel come just below the upper tunnel. And that is barely a quarter of a mile down the trail.
That's not even,
The views do not get better from there. They
don't.
get worse. There's really no benefit to going down Bright Angel. So my advice is this, Mary. My best advice for hiking Bright Angel Trail, if you have a day, is to turn around and go to the shuttle to the South Kaibab Trail and hike down South Kaibab a mile or so and see the best views in the whole canyon.
Exactly. At least to Windy Ridge. Go to Woo-Ah Point, go a little bit below that to Windy Ridge, and if you can make it down to Cedar Ridge, that's even better. And if you have time and you have the energy and you're fairly fit, go to Skeleton Point.
People probably get so tired of me talking about South Kaibab, but I'm never going to stop doing it because they are the most iconic views in the Grand Canyon, and it kills me when people miss them, especially to go a little ways down Bright Angel. Bright Angel's great. Don't get me wrong. Bright Angel is great, but South Kaibab is the king. Mary, 74 years old, 192 hikes in the Grand Canyon. What is it about the Grand Canyon at 74 years old, 192 hikes, that keeps you so motivated to do this?
Because it's there.
It's got to be more than that.
It's a personal goal that my son gave me 13 years ago when he challenged me to do it to my age. I was 61 at the time. And then once you get on a roll and you can see that success can happen, success breeds success. And I'm not saying someone's not successful in life if they don't hike the Grand Canyon, but in my personal world, physical activity and physical events actually, they're part of my world so much, even in an old age, that I'm not willing to stop until I need to stop. And even if I have to slow down, that's okay, which I am. But I have a hard time with people that are in my age group or even 10 or 20 years younger. They put self-limitations on themselves that I could never do that. But, I was telling Brian today, I've had 23 eye surgeries with 3 more coming. My visual vertigo is beyond terrible going downhill, but it just adds to the challenge. And it is a challenge, but that adds to the accomplishment too, knowing that I've had to deal with that. And it doesn't get better. And it just, when I top out at the rim, it's like another one bites the dust. We can do this. So I'm kind of aiming for 200.
I mean, if anyone has an excuse, not even an excuse, a reason to not be so physically active, to not take on the Grand Canyon, it would be you, with the health problems that you've had, not just with your eyes, but I know you've had other issues as well.
Yeah, a lot of
So, but you're not using it as an excuse a reason, and you could.
No, I need double knee replacement. 5 years ago, I was told that. And it's like, I think I'm going to put that off. And they're all swollen right now, and it's fine. And I've had bowel obstruction, and I've had hernia surgery, and emergency appendectomy, all kinds of gastro issues. And sometimes, I'm so sick I can barely move, and then I can't come and hike. But when those issues clear up, then when's my next Grand Canyon hike? And it's just, I don't know, we need something to strive for as human beings. We need to be out of our comfort zone because, as the saying goes, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And I find that you can't be mentally sharp unless you're physically sharp. And I'm not saying you have to be a marathon runner, but you have to be fit in order to be, how can I describe it? Full capacity of your brain can't be used unless you're physically fit. I mean, oxygenation and all that, and people can argue all they want, but I do believe that with all my heart. In fact, they did a study in New York with kids in high school that were in math class, and oh my gosh, I'm having a really bad cramp.
No excuses, Mary.
I know.
No excuses.
I know, right?
Not right now.
Anyway, they put the kids on bicycles for a half hour between classes, and there was no doubt that they learned better after they were, oxygenated their brain. And so you just kind of take all those little bits and pieces. And from a former very overweight person, I know what it's like not to be able to tell my body what to do, and it won't do it. I couldn't even see my feet. And I just don't want to ever live in that space again. And why not just keep on going until you can't?
Man, and you were so inspiring, Mary. I ran across someone on Black Mountain, my mountain in Cave Creek, a while ago, probably a month ago, and his name's Jerry. Jerry, I'm paying attention, man. 77 years old, right?
Wow.
77, and he's just starting to get himself worked into shape where he thinks that he can do the canyon. And he's like, do you really think I can do rim to river? I was like, Jerry, you're out here killing it. You're in great shape. I can tell. Look at you, man. Heck yeah, you can do it. Let's go. And in fact, I want to come do it with you.
I do too.
You know, I want to do it with him. Yeah, Jerry. So what do you say to someone like Jerry, or someone who's in their 70s, who's never done something like the Grand Canyon? It might seem unreachable. What do you say to someone like that about it not being too late?
Well, especially if he's got that kind of attitude, do you think that I can? That tells you right then and there that the man probably will be successful wildly.
Yeah, he will be.
And he'll do what it takes to get into the space where he can do it without dying, killing himself and injuring himself and blowing a knee or whatever. And another thing, it's not just that kind of fitness, it's overall fitness. I rock climb 3 times a week, which keeps my core in shape to do this kind of stuff, and I find that is incredibly helpful. So there's more facets to conditioning than just cardio, running, or hiking. There's definitely other things that we need to do, lifting weights, whatever. So I can't wait to meet this old guy and hike with him.
But it's not just Jerry. I mean, I love hearing this, and I love when people are in our Facebook group and they might be in their 70s and they might say, "Well, that's a past goal for me. That's something I can't do that anymore." And I'm just like, "Well, why not? Why not? You're here. You're taking it seriously. You're asking the questions. You're inspired to do it. Why not? It's not too late, right?"
No, it's not too late. You have to be able to be willing to put the work in.
Yeah.
You just can't I'm going to hike the Grand Canyon in 2 weeks and I'm 74. You can't do that.
Right.
You have to work up to it and be actually pretty serious about maintaining fitness, because when I'm not in the Grand Canyon, I am at the climbing gym or the regular gym or Mount Lemmon Highway. I'm never not in shape to do the Grand Canyon. So it's not just because I come here, it's an overall, and my job is extremely physical as well. And when you get older, you need a little bit more time between activities to recover. Probably instead of a day, you need 2 days. But overall, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah. Once you have that mindset.
I mean, it's the old cliche, right? Where there's a will, there's a way. It doesn't matter how old you are.
I have to drive 6 hours home, and I have to work tomorrow. I've got physical jobs to do tomorrow.
And you'll be back here when?
Next Thursday.
Next week.
Yeah, and Sunday I've got to give a climbing lesson to a lady who's 40 years old, and she's new at climbing. So I'll spend 3 hours with her at the climbing gym and teaching her how to climb. And why not? You just have to eat right. You have to proteinize. I'll tell you, you better eat protein.
Do you still get the same feeling that you got 100 hikes ago when you're dropping in, or when you're coming out at the end of a hike? Do you still get that same kind of feeling, almost an emotional kind of feeling?
Oh yeah, yes, it's very emotional. When you come to the lip of South Kaibab, and you look out. This morning there was headlamps off in the distance, and it's just hits me right when you're starting to descend that first switchback. You just look out over the canyon, pitch dark, and you say, "Thank you, Lord. I can't believe I'm here again." And it's very, very emotional to experience that, and it never escapes me. And then coming up, same thing. Going across Tonto, it was the same thing. It's like, what kind of a space am I allowed to be in? Where am I? This is the most stunning place on the planet to me right now, today, especially with Brian.
And then what about when you finish? Is it that same
feeling?
feeling?
I finish, well, as you're coming up the last switchback, you just wanted it to be over. But then the minute you hit the rim and you start to, recover cardio-wise a little bit, it's like, we got to grab somebody to help document. It's like, this is my 192nd trip.
It's finishing the accomplishment.
It is. It's the accomplishment never leaves. And unfortunately, our world is so screen and chair oriented that I would say the vast majority of young people and even a lot of older people are so addicted to their phones and sit so much that they have forgotten really what the outdoors is all about. We didn't have to exercise on purpose when we were young. We were outside playing on our bikes all the time, went to the park, and now you have to have play dates and all this. So got to be intentional about fitness outside, otherwise it slips away.
This place is such an escape. I mean, you talk about being away from the screens and being away from the Wi-Fi and the sounds and the music. and the bombardment of everything that we face on a day-to-day basis. It feels like every time that I come here and I go below the rim, that all just goes away. It's like you don't have access to your phone, you don't have access to Wi-Fi, and you just kind of forget about it, and you go back to almost a simpler time and a simpler way of being.
When you're below the rim, you don't think about work, you don't think about messages or Facebook or basically or any of that. And when I see young people coming down like the Bright Angel Trail, they're actually texting on their phone as they're walking downhill. And sometimes I'll say, why don't you just put your phone away for 15 minutes.
By the way, Mary is not shy about sharing her feelings with anyone who walks by.
No. Where are you going? How much water do you have? What are you doing?
Get off your phone.
Get off your phone. You're going to trip and kill yourself.
Yeah.
No, but I have helped probably 50 people over the last 45 years in pretty dire situations, lack of water, no sun protection, hypothermia, hyperthermia, hyponatremia, serious stuff where people were in really trouble, and most of the time it's the trail runners.
Well, beyond helping people on the trail, no matter who they are, Mary, you help people in our community, and you're the best of us. You're such an asset to our community. You're such an inspiration. I know that there are people out there who have gotten so much just from this conversation that we've had here for the last few minutes. And thank you. It's an honor to hike with you. I love it. I look forward to it so much, Mary.
I actually ran into some people at Phantom Ranch last November on a rim to rim when it was freezing cold, that were coming out after dinner, and my friend and I were just hanging out there and drinking, getting water and stuff, and the one lady said, "Where are you guys heading?" And I said, "We're heading to the South Rim tonight. This is my, whatever number it was." And she said, "Are you Mary? I've heard you on the Hiker Dude podcast."
Oh, that's great. You never told me that.
It's pitch dark, and I got into the light, and I said, "That's me." She said,
"That's you.
I heard you on that podcast." It's like, oh, that's so cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, that was a night of a full moon. That was spectacular. But I dropped a pair of gloves, and that was not couldn't even use my hands when I got back to the car.
Always a story, Mary.
Yes,
always a story.
Always.
Well, let's wrap this story up and head for home. You back to Tucson, me to Phoenix. Again, thank you so much for letting me hike with you and spend the day with you. It was a joy, as always. I love it.
No, it's my pleasure, because you are a treasure.
Oh, you're way too kind, believe me. Thanks, Mary.
Okay, bye.
Oh, Miss Mary is the treasure, believe me on that. And we will definitely hear from her again. I do plan to be there to document her 200th for all of you. By the way, Miss Mary's accomplishment is all the more impressive considering it is a 6-hour drive one way from her home in Tucson to the canyon. Arizona is, after all, the 6th largest state in the country, behind only Alaska, Texas, California, Montana, and New Mexico. Well, another thing Mary swears by is her Ultra Lone Peak trail running shoes. But that does not necessarily mean Ultras are right for you. We're all different. I spent years in Ultras until I developed some issues with my feet. It was recommended to me then that I go back to something with more support. So now I am on my second pair of Brooks trail runners and have liked both the Cascadia and the Caldera, both of which I have a lot of canyon miles on. The Cascadias in particular I found to have the grippiest and longest lasting soles of any trail runner that I've ever had. But either way, it all starts with foot care, and that's what's on Coach Arnie's mind this time around as well.
Hey guys, welcome to another Grand Canyon tip of the week. This one's about foot care. In my world, it all starts with your feet. The number one question that I receive concerns the feet. So let me share some things with you guys. First of all, when it comes to your shoes, we want to make sure we have a good fit. That's until you become what I call shoe proof. You've got to make sure that your shoes fit for your situation, for your foot situation, until, like I said, you can become shoe proof. And then you got to put them to the test. You got to get out there and get some dirt underneath your feet and see how those shoes work, see how your feet respond to your shoes under various situations, the heat, the surface, the rockiness. And then here's the tip. I lather my feet with Aquaphor. Now, there are other lubricants you can use, but I have slid into using Aquaphor because one, it's easy, and I love the fact that it kind of waterproofs my feet. And I've tested in rain and in all kind of situations, and my feet have stood up to whatever the environment has thrown at them. Now, granted, I have had some issues in the past with blisters and whatnot, but that was mainly from my shoe not being properly fitted, and that was taken care of. But that's why you get out there and you practice. But the Aquaphor does make a big difference, a great barrier. And I know a lot of people love different layers of socks and all that stuff. And if it's working, great. But this is just a simple tip. Just get that Aquaphor and lather your feet up real good in between those toes and everything. And I think you're going to really be surprised. So, but first you must check your feet on a regular basis. I'm always taking off my shoes, checking my feet, doing some massage on long hikes. I'm constantly doing that to make sure that everything's fitted properly, the socks are on right, and I'm always checking for hot spots. But the added tip is the Aquaphor. Don't be afraid. Give it a try. And worst that happens is nothing. And you move on and find something else. But I think you'll be surprised. Love you guys.
That is Coach Arnie Fonseca Jr. He's an exercise physiologist and canyon coach, and he is here to help. His contact information is in the show notes. If you need help, please reach out. And I do second that advice on lube. I've taken to slathering my toes in plain old Vaseline, and I've had zero blister issues. Might be worth trying yourself, but again, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to any of this. What works for one might not work for you. Important to remember that. So please test these theories and tactics we talk about on the show before you get to the canyon. The canyon is just no place to be experimenting, especially if it's your first time there. All right, that's it for now. My name is Brian Special, encouraging you, as always, to go hike the canyon. Take that first step. Embrace the journey. And when you get there, whether it's for time goals or taking your time, just hike your own hike and enjoy every step in the majestic Grand Canyon. We'll see you next time on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters.